Satsang. This morning's reading is from Affirmations for Self-Healing, and the topic is on renunciation. Renunciation means turning one's back on non-essentials, that we may give our whole attention to the Lord. We may think of renunciation as an investment, which initially may seem a loss, but in time becomes multiplied to many times its original worth. The least gift that we give to God will return to us in divine blessings 1,000-fold. Renunciation means nothing less than the gift to God of oneself. Renunciation is of the heart. It isn't what you wear or the outward rules you follow. When you renounce all for God, you hold that renunciation as a precious secret between you and Him. All your desires, all your ambitions, then, are for Him alone. Let's affirm together. I spurn the tempting magic of this world.
I spurn the tempting magic of this world.
With its rainbow bubbles.
With its rainbow bubbles.
Ever ready to burst.
Ever ready to burst.
See where I fly.
See where I fly.
High above the tall mountains.
High above the tall mountains.
I am free.
I am free.
I am free.
I am free.
I spurn the tempting magic of this world.
I spurn the tempting magic of this world.
With its rainbow bubbles.
With its rainbow bubbles.
Ever ready to burst.
Ever ready to burst.
See where I fly.
See where I fly.
High above the tall mountains.
High above the tall mountains.
I am free.
I am free.
I am free.
I am free.
And now in a whisper, I spurn the tempting magic of this world.
I spurn the tempting magic of this world.
With its rainbow bubbles.
With its rainbow bubbles.
Ever ready to burst. See where I fly. High above the tall mountains. I am free. I am free. And now silently, the point between the eyebrows with deep devotion. I spurn the tempting magic of this world with its rainbow bubbles ever ready to burst. See where I fly, high above the tall mountains. I am free. I am free. And please pray silently with me. Lord, help me to see that in no outward experience will I ever find fulfillment. All that my heart has ever sought awaits me in Thee. Om Shanti Shanti. Amen.
Good morning and happy holiday to everyone. This reading is from Whispers from Eternity by Paramahansa Ananda, entitled, Dance in Me, Thy Dance of Infinity. O Mother Divine, I have learned to love Thy dance of destruction, for I see now that what is destroyed is my own ignorance and folly. Thou hast shattered again and again with Thy war dance of destruction my fragile cage of bones and flesh, and consigned it to crematory flames. Thou hast done so smilingly, to show me and everyone that our souls are ever free and cannot be burned or broken. With Thy mercy, Thou hast stripped away, sometimes seemingly with harshness, but always with loving purpose, the countless hardened, mud-encrusted covers of delusion that coated us. I appreciate now Thy dance of devastation, Mother. Together, let us cremate my every desire, frailty, weakness, and finitude, forever and ever. I'll join Thee laughing in Thy dance of evil's destruction. O Mother, since nothing more is left now of my finiteness for Thee to destroy, dance in me Thy dance of infinity and of cosmic love. And from the New Path by Swami Kriyananda, this is drawn from the chapter 29 Palms, when Swami Kriyananda was in seclusion with Yogananda and the other monks. My first visit to 29 Palms was for a weekend. We visited Master at his place. My first recollection of him on that occasion isn't so much of the things he said as of what he didn't say. I didn't know it at the time, but he placed great importance on silence. Disciples working around him were permitted to speak only when necessary. Silence, he said, is the altar of spirit. Master was seated out of doors by the garage. Bernard and I were standing nearby. Master asked Bernard to go into the house and fetch something. Suddenly, for the first time since my acceptance as a disciple, I found myself alone with my guru. It seemed an opportunity not to be missed, a chance to learn something, anything. Master evidently didn't see it in the same light. He made no move to speak. Finally, I decided I'd better break the ice. I had learned from Bernard how to commune inwardly with Om, the cosmic sound, which manifests itself to the yogi in deep meditation. Sir, I inquired, what does Om sound like? Master gave a prolonged and then reverted comfortably to silence. To me, alas, his silence was anything but comfortable. How does one hear it? I persisted, though I already knew the technique. This time, Master didn't even bother to answer, but simply assumed the prescribed position. After holding it briefly, he returned his hands silently to his lap. Some months later, I told him I was having trouble calming my breath in meditation. That, he replied, is because you used to talk a lot. The influence is carried over. Well, he added consolingly, you are happy in that. Silence is the altar of spirit. As I grew into my new way of life, I began to value this maxim. Around the world now, whether people are in the living in the Ananda communities or in nearby centers, meditation groups, and so on, there's a great, great pull. And this is something that happens every fall, happily, for the yogis. And this pull is the pull to go into seclusion. Yogananda said, seclusion is a price for spiritual greatness. And in this world of diversion, seclusion is something that people either don't know anything about, or if they've heard anything about seclusion, then perhaps they're a little bit reluctant to look into it, because they think, well, I'm really busy. Well, that's for starters. But in addition to that, I have enough troubles. Why would I want to go into seclusion, the land of introspection, and find more troubles? I have enough. I just don't care to be bothered by any more. And so seclusion perhaps is postponed, maybe even for some time, even for years. We don't want to make that mistake. Seclusion, like meditation, it's best to start at it, a little bit more easily. As Nayaswami Roma was saying some satsangs ago, that Jaya had approached Swami about meditation and all of that, and Swami was saying for him to meditate a certain amount, and Jaya, being new, thought, oh my goodness, and of course he's a deep meditator now, but I can't meditate an hour or something. So Swami said, well, fine, a half an hour, how about that? I don't think so. 10 minutes? Well, you don't know my mind, Swami. 5 minutes and so on, until finally it was just a dot of meditation. And Swami was satisfied because he knew that Jaya would then be planting the seeds of a regular meditative routine, and in time that would grow. And so with seclusion, we all often think for inspiration there in the fall when we were in California living out in the woods, that the sap is withdrawing, which it is, and the leaves are falling. And so how about we should take a little bit of a cue from nature and do the same, and just begin to withdraw our energy in an expansive way. That's the thing that a lot of people get tripped up by. If we withdraw, then the family members might not be so happy, lest we all of a sudden think, well, maybe I should just head off to the Himalayas and call it good, and so forth. So there isn't a lot of reinforcement for a deep spiritual life, doing a little something like in the States. People will come once a year for Easter, and I think they come mostly to find the Easter eggs, than to remember that really this is about communing with Jesus Christ, and so forth. And that's good, because it's something. But really, as we begin to yearn more for God, and to be thinking in terms that we really have a shot, and it's real, of finding God in this life, one of these lifetimes we're going to find God. As Yogananda said, eventually, why not now? And so we begin to think about what we could do in order to find inspiration. Seclusion is really a tremendous vehicle for that. What happens in seclusion? We like to use the image in classes of a jar with silt and water. And most people go around life, and this is their life. It's just this clutter of thoughts and feelings and all the things that come down at work and so forth. And it's just survival. It's not a quality existence, it's just survival. But what happens in seclusion and in meditation, but primarily in seclusion, is that silt then begins to slowly filter down to the bottom. And whoa, look, there's clarity. Remember, the only difference between the saints and us is they've cleaned their windows, this window. And there's no longer, the spattered window of desire and karma and all of these habits that don't do anything for us. So it's not again, a good thought to think, oh no, I'm bound, I'm limited. As Yogananda said one time to a disciple, the disciple was saying, well, you can do that, Master, because you're a master. And Master very sternly, he didn't let him get off the hook. He said, what do you think made me a master? I thought, my goodness, did that disciple run at that point for his life with that power coming from the Master? Because Yogananda felt so strongly, listen, I too was like you. I too remember the struggle. It's very, very vivid in the Master's minds that there was that time where day after day after day, the struggle in meditation, battling the restless thoughts, the struggle in trying to do our seva, feeling that God is flowing through us, and on it goes. The common struggle for all of us. They remember that. And so he was shaking that disciple. Listen, you're not going to get off the hook by saying you're a master, so you can do everything, which of course they can. And I'm just, a clod of dirt. I can do nothing. That's not humility. That's nonsense. Humility, again, and we have to remember this, is getting out of the way, letting go and letting God. And so, I'm speaking of seclusion because Roma and I do our 3 and 4 month schedule for the classes and retreats and all those things. And so every once in a while, a few brain cells fire and we think, well, gee, how about seclusion? You have to put it down. That's the law. You've got to put it down on your calendar, otherwise you're swept away. So we put it down on the calendar. And so I thought, okay, I wonder if it's going to happen again. But really, I wasn't wondering. And what am I speaking of? That pull. You put it down on the calendar, magic happens. And be it a half a day, be it a few hours even, be it longer, you start to feel this pull. And this pull is the pull to get down to really the bottom of things and see what we really want. Because the purpose of God, or I should say the purpose of existence, is to find God. And there's no exception for everyone, even those that are steeped in materialism and can't wait for their 4th house. And they're eager then to be, getting then the 5th house and the 10th house and all of that stuff. Like Master talked of this millionaire who was so unhappy in the States, this was back in the 30s or so, that it took him till 40 years of age to become a millionaire. And he says, oh, I wanted to have 10 million. But by the time he was able to accumulate more riches, he died of a heart attack and couldn't, as Yogananda shared, couldn't enjoy all of his riches. Maybe he could share some too, because there was this out of balance existence that many, many people find themselves in. It's not that difficult. Think of Yogananda's formula, and what a great formula it is. 5 days, he said, of the 7-day week. 5 days is for seva, making money, call it what you will. 1 day for fun. You have to keep, that's why Yogananda would distribute ice cream and take the disciples to the movies. And Swami shocked me initially when I first got on the path by reading P.G. Wodehouse. And he was, tears were coming out of his eyes, and he did a magnificent job. You can listen to him on tape. Fabulous. In order to make sure that we stayed balanced. And what is the last day? The last day is for God. In any way that we can do it. But satsang such as this, taking a little bit of time perhaps in seclusion and so forth. So as we begin to form an appetite for seclusion, we then can take the habit of a friend. When Roma and I were running the seclusion retreat, Ananda's first property, many, many years ago, we had a friend that would come in. And she would go into seclusion and come out. And then at the office, when it was time to pay and so forth, she would say, okay, now, please get out your calendar. I want to write down my next seclusion. And I thought, wow, this is a revelation. This woman, this wise soul, she lives from seclusion to seclusion. That's her life. That's what she does. And I thought, this is for me. And we were running the seclusion retreat, and it didn't occur to us. It was kind of, that's a little sad. But, you get so busy, running retreat, you think, oh my gosh, everybody's in seclusion. And as people would go into seclusion, we would feel this pull, but we had to go make sure that they were, getting fed and everything was in order. But of course, we took our seclusion too, and regularly. And so during this time, we can tune in. It's just like, again, this time of festival. And of course, India does holidays in a big way. I again, from America, I can't tell you what fun it is for me to go around and see the buses. I mean, in the U.S., I've never seen a bus decorated with anything, ever, except, Marlboro cigarettes, advertisement. And you think, well, okay, that's a start, but it's not very inspiring. But here, these gigantic leaves and the flowers and then the motorcycles and the guys trying to see, they're negotiating the traffic, which is no joke even when you have clear vision. But you're through the leaves and the flowers and all that stuff, and the rickshaws, and it's just like, this place is just heavenly. And what we do here in India, from festival to festival, that's it. As soon as one festival's over, you're planning for the next festival, and and so forth. And on a deeper level, there is so much to be gained by having this thought that there's more that's happening in this world. What is the undercurrent? And what is our undercurrent? The undercurrent is joy. And seclusion, as is true of practicing meditation, specifically Kriya, the fruit is joy. And when we have joy, Swami Kriyananda said many years ago, seek God first for joy. God is joy. And then love. Because love can go down and out, and there can be some confusion around conditional love as opposed to that which the saints enjoy, unconditional love. But joy is pure. No confusion with joy. Joy is not pleasure. Joy is not happiness. Joy is joy. And that's where we've come from. That's where we are now whenever we're able to dive into our souls and experience it. And that is where we're going. Pure joy. Permanent joy. Not this fleeting experience that we're having from time to time, which is a good start. And so, please, we're always urging you guys and ourselves to meditate more and meditate more deeply and go into seclusion and go on retreat and go on pilgrimage and so forth. But this particular moment in time, it's seclusion. And if, again, a week is too long, or 2 days is too long, or a half a day is too long, just to do a little bit. That's the amazing thing about forming a good habit. I don't care whether it's trying to get ourselves to energize or God knows what. You just do something. That's all Swami Kriyananda ever would share with people. They would come in with their troubles and imagine, Yogananda and Swami Kriyananda, how many troubles they listened to. Oh my God, so many troubles constantly. Padre Pio, the great Italian saint, was in the confessional 19 hours a day. It's just like, Mamma Mia, 19 hours a day. Oh, my child, and I helped so much. He'd be a civil engineer, but instead he wants to be a doctor. We've always had civil engineers in the family, on and on and on and on and on. But, what did Swami Kriyananda say to these different ones? In so many instances, he would say, do something. Knowing, it's the icebreaker, do something. And then by doing something, many times, I was delighted by this. Someone would be having troubles. And so he'd say, well, why don't you work in the dairy? They will say, gee, I've never worked in the dairy. I'm kind of an office person, Well, you think about it. And they would later come back after milking the cows and all that stuff, some months later and say, something? I really needed that. I would have never dreamed that could have shifted my consciousness. And that's what the great ones do as we can tune into intuition. They say, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And we think, well, I have no talents in that area. I have no inclination, blah, blah, blah. But nevertheless, we think, well, it seems like there's something there to be explored. And we do it, and next thing we know, there's more love for God. There's more joy. And that's the fun of Ananda. We've just opened up Vijayanagar. And so one of our Kriyabans, Archana, was there when we were first doing, we had rented a big hall, some of you were there. And so we said, would you like to pass out some flyers, I said to Archana. And she just, withdrew. She was being the yogi. I mean, she just withdrew deep into her spine and said, well, I've never done anything like that. I said, well, okay. But you may want to try, see what it's like. I said, I appreciate, your concern, because when I was first doing flyers, I was pretty nervous too. Well, the next thing you know, she became an expert. And she was just there, and I was observing her as I was passing out flyers, and she was loving it. Well, we like to throw people off the bridge. It's a bit of a tradition here, and see what happens. And it always is a success. So this time, when we were in Vijayanagar doing a level 2 class, which includes the yoga postures, I said to Archana, would you like to do some yoga postures? Again, she withdrew into the spine, which is a good thing. We try to live more in the spine. And so she withdrew, and she was quite concerned. And so I said, okay, well, we'll just see. So I said, I'll tell you what. When I start the yoga postures, I'll look to you, and then perhaps you'll be interested. But I tricked her. Right in the crowd, there were, a dozen or so people. I said, Archana, would you like to do the postures? Yeah, I thought, that's a mean thing to do. Maybe she's going to get mad at me after the class. She did a fantastic job. Just a fantastic job. And then apologized after that it wasn't, if she had some advance, then she would have done thus and so. Remember an affirmation or something. I said, oh my gosh, Archana, we've had many experiences with Hatha yogis over the years in our travels. You're the, tippy top, fantastic. It didn't really matter that she was good, bad, or indifferent. It turned out that she was a natural because she rose to the occasion. And that was the success. And so find ways to go the extra mile. Find ways, as Yogananda said, do a creative thing every day, something new. Find ways that perhaps you can begin to contemplate, if you haven't taken seclusion, what it would be like to go in and begin on a deeper level to befriend your own soul. On a deeper level to begin to appreciate the antics of the ego, the little Napoleon that constantly is bombarding us with all of this stuff to keep us on our toes and sharp in our game. As we begin to go into seclusion and even contemplate going into seclusion, we begin to sense the joy and the balance and the rewards that come for living for God. And our priorities change. And being that it's October, it gives us a head start with our New Year's resolutions, So when we get, to January 1st, then we've made some headway, and we really want to begin to shift our life, as Yogananda said, refashion life ideally. And so seclusion is the price for spiritual greatness. Think about it. If you're already a person who takes seclusion, God bless you. More and better. deeper, all of that, continue on. And those of you that are new to seclusion, then be thinking of what it would be. We are going out, and of course you're welcome to go to the Ancient School of Wisdom, where Nayaswami, Jyotish and Devi, our international directors, are going to be later on this month. And Roma and I spent time in seclusion there. It has a deep vibration. And it's an easy thing. It's just right out by the airport. And they love to support people that are going deep there. They live for that. And so, an easy thing to do. And of course, the pilgrimage places in India, it's endless. Endless places of tremendous spiritual power that can help to awaken all the more that divine love. So seclusion is the price for spiritual greatness. And it's something really that's a dear friend. So we hope that you will take part and pray for us. We're going to be in seclusion after the big event, the end of the month. We're going to spend some time. And again, we're really looking forward to us. And we'll keep you too in our prayers as we continue on to finish off this year more and more in God.